Koh Tao, also known as Turtle Island, is a place where hundreds of thousands of tourists flock every year to enjoy the white sand beaches, crystal clear waters, and all-night parties. But one morning in September 2014, this paradise suddenly turned into hell. Two young British tourists, Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, were found brutally beaten, raped, and murdered, right in the middle of the beach. And that was just the beginning of a case that would shock the world. On September 15, 2014, the sun had just broken out on Koh Tao. It was a hot and humid morning, the smell of salty seawater and the sound of waves lapping at every corner of the small island, only about 20 square kilometers in size. On Seri Beach, dozens of tourists were lying on their towels, sunbathing, sipping piña coladas, listening to melodious music. In their eyes, this was a tropical dream, peaceful, beautiful, carefree, but among the leisurely crowd were people who were not wearing beach clothes. They were wearing police uniforms, their eyes cold, quietly setting up barricades in the middle of the sand. In the bright sunlight, two bodies were discovered, one lying on the sand, the other floating in the water, just a few dozen meters from the victim's resort. Hannah, 23, from Hemsby, England. She is a smart, enthusiastic girl with a dream of working with disabled children. After graduating with a degree in education from the University of East Anglia, she continued her master's in speech therapy at the University of Essex. Before starting the new semester, Hannah decided to take a short vacation in Thailand with her friends, a backpacking trip to explore the culture. She arrived in Koh Tao on August 25, 2014, with 3 friends. Everything was perfect: beautiful weather, windy beaches, and friendly people. Hannah was eager to capture every moment, until that fateful night. David, 24, was from the island of Jersey between England and France. Having just finished an internship in Australia, he stopped in Thailand for a few days before returning home. Everyone described David as a kind, intelligent, adventurous, and very sociable guy. That night, September 14, David and Hannah met by chance at AC Bar, a popular bar in Koh Tao. According to CCTV, they were chatting happily, leaving the bar together at around 1 a.m. It was the last image of the two of them, lively, youthful, unaware that they had only a few hours to live. As the sun rose, a garbage collector walked past the beach and stopped dead. On the sand, a woman's body lay face down, naked. Not far away, a man's body floated in the shallow water. Near the bodies were a pile of clothes, bloodstains, and a bloody garden hoe, which could have been the murder weapon. Police were called at 11 a.m., about 5 or 6 hours after the victims died. They quickly identified them: Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, 2 tourists from England. Hannah was hit hard on the head, raped. David was also beaten but died by drowning, that is, being drowned alive. Koh Tao immediately became the focus of global media. But instead of sealing off the scene and handling it professionally, the Thai police handled it extremely carelessly. They did not erect a barrier, allowing tourists to trample on the scene. Locals and reporters freely took pictures of the bodies and posted them online. Friends and relatives of Hannah David learned about the news through Facebook. The police did not focus on tracking down the perpetrators but began to crack down on foreigners and illegal immigrants, especially those from Myanmar. A mass DNA testing campaign was launched, targeting nearly 200 migrant workers. Fear spread. And the police's only goal now, to find someone to blame, as quickly as possible. Not only the police, but also the Thai Prime Minister at that time also intervened. He called the chief of police every day to urge them to solve the case. Why? Koh Tao is a tourist paradise, and if the media labeled it Death Island, tens of thousands of tourists would cancel their tours and the tourism industry would collapse. The Thai police were faced with a dilemma: solve the case quickly, or face the wrath of their superiors and the public. And they chose the fastest way, regardless of right or wrong. After Hannah and David's bodies were found, the atmosphere on Koh Tao was torn apart. Gone were the vibrant night parties, the reggae music and the sound of the waves, replaced by haunting, fear and suspicion across the island. But things began to get strange and scary when the Thai police investigation took a turn. Very quickly, 2 young Burmese men were arrested. They were dragged into the newspapers under the label, "The Killer of the British Tourist." What about the reality? Police claimed they had a breakthrough. CCTV footage near the AC bar showed 3 young men riding motorbikes to a 7-Eleven, buying beer, and heading to Seri Beach on the night of the murder. The 3 men were Ma Mao, Zaw Lin, and Wai Phio, all Burmese, illegal immigrants, and manual workers on the island. After his arrest, Ma Mao said he had left his 2 friends at midnight. Police immediately ruled him out of the running. The remaining 2, Zaw Lin and Wai Phio, were immediately named as prime suspects. There was no lawyer, no official interpreter. Instead, the police used a Burmese food vendor on the island as a reluctant interpreter. The interrogation, or rather, the torture, began a few days later. Zaw Lin and Wai Phio were reported by Thai media to have confessed to killing David and raping Hannah. According to police, the 2 men attacked the couple while they were having sex. On the beach, beat David to death, took turns raping Hannah, and then killed her with a hoe. It sounded convincing, especially when the police said they found DNA matching the suspects on the victim and the murder tools. They also forced the suspects to reenact the murder in front of the press, in a barbaric public drama. But then, it all started to fall apart. A Myanmar lawyer visited Zaw Lin and Wai Phio at the detention center. As soon as he saw the 2 emaciated, bruised bodies, he burst into tears of anger. Both young men claimed they were beaten, starved, tortured in a cold room, and forced to confess. If they didn't, the police threatened to disappear. They said they had absolutely nothing to do with the murder. They had just gone swimming, returned to a friend's house and were arrested. They didn't even know who was Hannah or David. They weren't alone. Dozens of other Myanmar workers on the island were also taken for mass DNA testing. Many reported being beaten, locked up in isolation, and threatened if they refused to cooperate. Koh Tao, once a tourist paradise, has now become a dead-end prison for immigrants. Police confirmed that Zaw Lin and Wai Phio's DNA matched samples taken from Hannah's body, condoms and cigarette butts at the scene. In addition, David's phone was allegedly found in Zaw Lin's house. Sounded like ironclad evidence, but then the experts got involved. Jane Toppin, an Australian forensic analyst, said she was willing to help with the investigation for free. She said that separating and analyzing mixed DNA from multiple sources, mixed DNA, takes days, sometimes weeks, to get accurate results, yet Thai police claim to have results in less than 12 hours. Furthermore, the DNA sample on the murder weapon, wooden stick, after a second test under court order, did not match Zaw Lin or Wai Phio. In fact, the detail of the phone found in the suspect's house was suspected to have been deliberately inserted by the police to incriminate them. On July 18, 2015, the trial of Zaw Lin and Wai Phio began in Thailand. Lasting 18 days, the trial was filled with injustice. The defense attorney was not given the 900-page police file until the day of the trial. The minutes were not taken. No international experts were invited to testify because they were considered to affect Thai justice. No eyewitnesses. The suspect's initial testimony was forced. Meanwhile, no one could explain why the DNA on the hoe, the main murder weapon, did not match any of the suspects. And there were no cameras, no witnesses to prove that the two men were present at the scene of the murder. On December 24, 2015, Christmas Eve, both young Myanmar men were sentenced to death for murder, rape, and trespassing. Not a word of apology. Not a single sign of remorse from the Thai judicial system. The lawyers filed 2 appeals, in 2017 and 2019, but both were rejected. In 2020, on the occasion of the King of Thailand's birthday, the 2 death sentences were commuted to life in prison as a humanitarian pardon. But to many, it was an arbitrary handout, not justice. To this day, that question remains unanswered. In the eyes of many observers, the 2 Burmese were victims blamed by the Thai government to cover up its poor investigative skills and protect the tourism industry. There were even conspiracy theories that the case was linked to the local mafia, which controls much of the tourism industry on the island. Several other unusual deaths of foreign tourists followed, but all were quickly closed, without a thorough investigation, when the death sentence was handed down on Christmas Eve 2015. Many thought the case was closed. But to those who cared, the victims' families, the lawyers, and the millions of people watching around the world, a more painful truth began to emerge: justice may have been perverted, and the real perpetrators were never brought to light. On October 3, 2014, David Miller was buried on the island of Jersey, where he was born. A week later, on October 10, Hannah Witheridge's family held a funeral in her hometown of Hemsby, England. It was not just the funeral of a young, ambitious girl, but also a farewell to all hopes for the future of a family. But the tragedy did not stop there. In 2019, Hannah's older sister, Laura Daniels, died suddenly while giving birth. She died at the age of 30, leaving her mother alone. A family that once had 2 smart, kind and ambitious daughters now only has silence and framed portraits left. Since the case, the name Koh Tao has lost its image of a tourist paradise. Online, people have started calling it Death Island. Stories of tourists dying unnatural deaths, falling down the stairs, committing suicide, drowning, or motorcycle accidents have appeared more and more. None of the cases have been thoroughly investigated. No arrests. No convictions. No names of the perpetrators. No clear reasons. Some locals and people working in the tourism industry revealed the local mafia controls most activities on the island, from hotels, bars, to the police force. And when a serious crime occurs, like Hannah and David, the system will quickly find someone to blame. As long as it does not affect the tourism industry worth billions of baht each year. Initially, we thought the case had only 2 victims, David Miller and Hannah Witheridge. But the deeper we dig, the more we see Zaw Lin and Wai Phio are also victims of a twisted justice system. 2 young men from Myanmar illegally immigrated to Thailand to work, to survive. They had no power, no voice, no lawyers, no language. They were beaten, forced to confess, and then sentenced to death. It was not until 2020, on the birthday of the Thai king, that their sentences were commuted to life in prison, as a symbolic favor, but no one has returned their youth, honor, or truth. The real killer remains at large. International media, human rights organizations, and many legal analysts have spoken out. Many believe that the case was misinvestigated from the start, and that the Thai police pre-selected the perpetrator instead of pursuing the real culprit. As one forensic scientist put it, if they had done the right tests, this case could have been solved transparently. But clearly, justice is not what they are after. Requests for an independent investigation, a retrial, international monitoring, have all been rejected or dragged out indefinitely by Thailand. Even foreign experts have been barred from testifying, for fear of influencing the judgment of the Thai court. The story of Hannah and David is more than a murder case. It is a painful reminder that justice does not always prevail, especially in places where fame and money are more important than people. It also shows the fragility of life, especially when you are a foreigner, powerless, unconnected, and considered an outsider. Zhao Lin and Wai Fio may have been innocents, sacrificed to save the reputation of an entire industry. As for David and Hannah, they died without their families ever knowing what really happened in the final hours of their lives. In this world, justice is not always measured. Sometimes, it is distorted by power. Buried under the hot sand of a tropical beach, the Koh Tao case remains, a scar that has not healed. And until the truth is revealed, it will continue to serve as a chilling warning to anyone who thinks that paradise is a place of absolute safety. If you have anything to share about this case, a perspective, a question, or simply your feelings, leave a comment below. And if you want to continue following dramatic and emotional true crime stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell.